You clearly have your act together. Let me go through my little checklist here. You haven't been to jail?
No.
No jail?
No, not yet.
Rehab?
No.
No rehab. Amanda Bynes, what kind of a starlet are you?
I know, what's wrong with me? Bizarre behavior from former child star Amanda Bynes.
You're in Manhattan now, man?
In a series of bizarre tweets over the weekend following her arrest.
Amanda, how was it?
You have to delete that one in my face. I need to look beautiful.
The 26-year-old has racked up 2 hit-and-run charges, a DUI, and her car was impounded.
I see this girl with her pant leg on fire and a gas can trailing fire through the driveway.
Amanda Bynes has been placed on a 72-hour psychiatric hold.
My parents are always bugging me to slow down. Take it easy. Take a breather.
Today I want to talk about a controversial topic. My conservatorship case.
The executive producer of the Amanda Show, Dan Schneider.
Unspeakable acts and crimes in defending this person.
It embarrasses me, I shouldn't have done it, and that I regret, and I definitely owe some people a pretty strong apology.
Turn the stinking sandwich over! Butter's on the top and the jelly's on the... Just turn the stinking sandwich over! Dan!
Somebody once said the words, "I've seen kids in her position experiment with drugs and be too promiscuous, but Amanda Bynes has avoided all that." My wife, who knows her, says she's almost like Marsha Brady in that she's so clean-cut and wholesome. Everything about that statement, tragically, has aged poorly. First of all, that quote came from the New York Times, courtesy of none other than disgraced Nickelodeon super producer Dan Schneider, a disturbing alleged predator who is debatably more known now for his harmful behavior to children than his contribution to children's television. Second of all, the last words anybody would use to describe Amanda Bynes in 2024 are clean-cut, wholesome, and even drug-free, though that last one may be accurate again. For those who don't know, though, at one point Amanda Bynes was one of the fastest rising stars of the big and small screen, cutting her teeth in legendary children's television shows, uber successful teen movies, and was at one point referred to as the second coming of Lucille Ball. There is a very real chance for viewers at a certain age that Amanda Bynes is a star that grew up right in front of you and along with you on screen. And if you don't believe me when I say Amanda Bynes was a superstar, she was once reportedly able to pull in $2 to $3 million per year every single year before she was even 18 years old. And that's before inflation today, okay? Honey, that is a lot of money. She's a multiple Teen and Kids' Choice Award winner, a Screen Actors Guild Award nominee, and she even once created her own fashion line. If the story of Amanda Bynes had stopped in 2010 when she unceremoniously retired from acting at the age of 24, there's a very real chance she would be considered one of the greatest to ever do it. But as I'm sure many of you know, the story of Amanda Bynes didn't stop in 2010, because all of Amanda's greatest successes were merely the first act for a story that has never truly reached the level of triumph she saw as a kid. Amanda Bynes' story is a tragedy involving exploitation from her family, the motion picture industry, and the tabloids. On top of that is the alleged abuse she endured, a truly disturbing and unchecked mental health crisis she is still grappling with today, and an enthralled public who cheered on her downfall at every possible turn, hoping for more content, more memes, and more laughs as she went from one of children's entertainment's biggest stars to one of its most notable cautionary tales. Now, unlike many of my other downfall documentaries, this isn't a story about the gradual decay of an entertainer into a pure villain who's, just an asswipe that people want to be held accountable for endless transgressions against the vulnerable. Amanda Bynes is not a villain. At times, she may be her own worst enemy, but this is the story of a star so bright she became a supernova that just happened to continue to explode over and over again, leaving one single question: why? And this is what we know. Oh, hi there. Hello, hello, hi. It's my face again. Swoop! Oh, if you're seeing me for the first time, my name is Swoop. Welcome. I'm a filmmaker and I make documentaries and short films on unsolved cases, true crime, and social media influencers who abuse their power and manipulate audiences because, as I always say, it's not drama, it's dangerous. We also dig deeper into the root psychology, and sometimes we take it to Petty University, okay? Listen, child, okay, Petty is my long walk on the beach. Petty is my hot cocoa on a cold night. If you want to join our community, all are welcome, and you can grab your exclusive exclusive Valid ribcage and Valid Social Club apparel from the Petty University shop, linked below as always. And yes, y'all, there are still some Petty University classics, the hoodies and sweaters, they're all in the shop below. Okay, we're gonna dig deep into this story, but real quick, do you smell that? Why am I asking? Well, a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Drift, for supporting this channel and making your world smell amazing. So I don't know about you, but fragrances are everything to me right now. I'm obsessed with candles and perfumes and how my home and the places I spend the most time in smell really impact my mood. And a few months ago, I realized that I've been totally neglecting my car, my closets, and even my bathroom, okay? Which is why Drift is brilliant. Drift creates gorgeous air care products for your car and your home, designed to look beautiful in your space while making everything smell incredible. They just so happen to be Scentbird's sister company, who I have loved for years, so you know that they know how to do fragrances. Drift uses natural, essential, and fragrance oils, pure ingredients, and sustainable materials to create your ultimate air freshener. Their ingredients are completely free of harmful chemicals, and on top of that, they are gorge, okay? I love that for us. And best of all, y'all, you can get them as a subscription. So first, you receive a starter kit with the clip and the scent, and then you can get monthly refills to switch them out 30 days to keep your space smelling its best. But let me tell you a secret, okay? I've had one of these in my closet for 2 months now, and it still smells fantastic. We love it when she over delivers. They also have a scent of the month, which features a new limited edition scent, which are inspired by the seasons and memories. Like this month, I got the scent Grove, which has this delicious citrus and vanilla scent, and I popped that baby right in my bathroom. The subscription is super flexible. You can change your scent choice, your delivery frequency, or cancel at any time. And I think having variety each month really helps reset your nose so that you don't get too used to the fragrance. So if you're ready to fill your car and your home with the most amazing and affordable scents and build your personal oasis like me, tap my link below and be sure to use my coupon code PETTY for 55% off at Drift. It's less than $5 for your first month, and treat yourself, honey. You deserve it. Okay, let's dig into today's story. The day is April 3rd, 1986. The #1 song in America is Rock Me Amadeus by Falco. Police Academy 3 was the #1 film, and Mayor Koch signed the first ever bill of its kind for gay rights in New York City. But while all of this was happening, an icon named Amanda Laura Bynes was born in Ventura, California, and raised in Thousand Oaks. Now, she is the youngest of 3 kids to a dental assistant named Lynn and a dentist named Rick. Now, according to an interview with Interfaith Family, while Amanda was promoting She's the Man, her upbringing was very rigid. Quote, "I was raised by strict parents. I wasn't allowed to go to the mall alone until I was around 16. I have really smart, grounded parents who weren't nouveau riche. They really earned their money and they knew the value of a dollar. They gave morals to me and I wouldn't want to do anything that would embarrass my parents." Now, look, even as a child, Amanda was always creative, gaining an appreciation early in her life for illustration, fashion design, and music, with her IMDb page stating that she's an avid piano and violin player. According to Lynn, Amanda was basically born an entertainer, with Lynn telling People magazine back in 2004 that, quote, "When she was 3, she would put on my clothing and be silly, trying to get attention from her sister and brother." So early on, when Amanda's father, Rick, noticed that she was a bit of a Jill of all trades, they decided to bottle that energy and try to sell it to Hollywood, because, you know, it's
Cutting style, Barbie cutter, long blonde hair. Add some more hair for any style you dare.
He was able to book her a few smaller gigs immediately, with Paper Magazine reporting she did over 20 commercials in a year and a half, including gigs for Barbie and Nestle Crunch, like, which, if you didn't know, okay, this is a feat, people, okay? I did some commercial work for like a hot ass minute, and booking is not an easy game, okay? I'm just saying it is really hard out here.
Long hair like magic, over and over. Cutting style, Barbie, over and over and over and over and over and over.
Dude, now I'm gonna have that stuck in my head today. Over and over and over and over. Over and 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 over. Okay. Even back then, Amanda's charisma was truly undeniable, to the point that she expanded out of commercials and into local stage productions of honestly some pretty impressive musicals like Annie, The Music Man, and The Sound of Music. But it was when Rick discovered the Laugh Factory comedy camp that things truly began to skyrocket almost overnight for Amanda. According to the Laugh Factory website, the comedy camp is an event established back in 1979 and is an event where kids from the ages of 9 to 16, especially those from lower socioeconomic statuses, interview and audition to get 8 weeks of live comedy experience and teaching from established comics. It's a pretty cool program. It's provided kids of all backgrounds with guidance, courtesy of genuine legends like, oh, I don't know, Richard Pryor, Chris Rock, Bob Saget, Adam Sandler, and Damon Wayans. It has also created some genuine stars like Tiffany Haddish and Nick Cannon, okay? We've all got the Nick Cannon jokes. I'm gonna keep up to myself, okay? But also, yes, Amanda Bynes is in that list.
This lady has so much heart. This lady has more heart than Jordan and Johnson put together. Please welcome, really? That's even more amazing. 10-year-old Amanda Burns.
Maybe I should have skipped that 13th candy bar.
That's a 10-year-old Amanda Bynes in 1996 being introduced to the stage by none other than legendary comedian Arsenio Hall. Amanda was a huge hit that night, and the audience happened to include the men who would change her life forever. Brian Robbins and f***ass Dan Schneider. Okay. I'm sorry, that's not right of me, Swoop. I already know that I am going to struggle to call this man purely by his government name, Daddy boy, okay. Now, for those of you who don't know, Brian Robbins is now so successful, he is literally the president and CEO of Paramount and Nickelodeon, like the whole ass president. Like, I'm sure his job is just so fun right now, you know, with the release of the Quiet on Set docuseries, which is literally about the dark history of the company that he runs. So, you know, how's it going, Brian? And Dan Schneider is just an asshole. I mean, is just as successful, being the president of Douchebags Unlimited LLC and CEO of the Cesspool, allegedly. I think I read that on Reddit once, so it must be true. I'm sorry, y'all. Classes started early at Petty University. We might as well just go ahead and grab our teacups. Okay, I got a new tea kettle. Y'all see the new tea kettle back here? Anyways, all pettiness aside, it's been quite a climb in life for these two, since at the time, both of these men were a pair of up-and-coming producers at Nickelodeon who had cut their teeth together as actors on the hit sitcom Head of the Class.
If you don't have the money, just give me my cookies back.
I can't.
Now, the two shared a love for writing and over time developed a show that Brian pitched as a kid-friendly version of Saturday Night Live titled All That. The show was greenlit and cast in 1993 with a slew of then new up-and-coming stars like Kenan Thompson, Kel Mitchell, and Lori Beth Denberg, you know, just to like name a few. It debuted in 1994 and became an immediate smash hit with kids everywhere due to a slew of instantly memorable skits like Loud Librarian or the iconic Good Burger. Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger Kid to take your order.
Hey, welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?
No mayonnaise on my Good Burger!
Unfortunately, the show All That shared several things in common with SNL, from Kenan Thompson to the cast changing relatively often. For example, in season 2, when Angelique Bates left the show for, quote, contract reasons, but, you know, in recent years, she has revealed that the reasons are actually a lot darker. To Amanda's parents, this was potentially her big break, and to Amanda, this was something even more than that. According to a 2018 interview with Paper, getting cast on the show was, quote, a dream come true. It was unbelievable for me. And Amanda Bynes' presence on that show was felt immediately, with her easily becoming one of its breakout stars in skits like, oh, whatever.
Like hello, like hi, like my name is Gina, and like my name is Jessica.
It just like, it trips me out that she was so young doing this, and it's cool to see.
I guess if I can't have a new hat, then I'll have to put this trophy on my head. Oh, honestly.
But let's not also forget her debatedly most iconic skit ever, Ask Ashley.
Dear Ashley, my mom always makes peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with the peanut butter on the top and the jelly on the bottom. But I prefer the jelly on the top and the peanut butter on the bottom. What should I do? Well, Tracy, here's a little advice. Turn the stinking sandwich over! The butter's on the top and the jelly's on the... Just turn the stinking sandwich over! Man!
With the range and sheer energy Amanda brought to the show, opportunity was knocking at every single one of Amanda's doors. From 1997 to 1999, she was a part of the game show Figure It Out. In 2000, she won a Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Award for her work on All That. But 1 year before that, in 1999, when Amanda was 13 years old, Dan Schneider developed a show for Nickelodeon that was just for Amanda, fittingly titled The Amanda Show.
Sit. Hello, I am Judge Trudy. Now, Jason Fema, I understand you have a complaint against your parents.
Sure do, Judge Trudy. His complaint is ridiculous.
Did I tell you it was your turn to speak, mister? I can't keep my mouth shut.
No.
Then close your yappa flappa.
Now, in case you missed it, yes, that was Drake Bell. This is when he was also an up-and-coming star, and both he and Josh Peck got their starts on The Amanda Show, which was another sketch comedy show similar to All That, which in many ways was even more successful for Amanda. Between Amanda Show and All That, Amanda's profile continued to grow. Like, she received an additional 3 Kids' Choice Awards and 2 Young Artist Award nominations. The Amanda Show even pulled in some A-list guest stars like Ashley Tisdale, Adam Brody, and the original Marsha Brady herself, Maureen McCormick. She also worked with future Mad TV and SNL star Taran Killam, who actually became one of Amanda Bynes' first boyfriends. Aw, look. And here's a blurb about that. Oh, righty then. Cool. Taran Killam dated a 15-year-old at 19. Right on. Just go ahead and take just like a little dive, take a little dip into the cesspool, okay? Head first you go. Back to the story. It was former Today Show host Kathy Lee Gifford, who guest starred in 2001, who had the best things to say about Amanda and why she seemingly had such a bright future ahead of her.
First of all, she's so talented, so funny. Working with her, I felt like it was like what Lucille Ball must have been like early on in her career. She was that good.
Despite being one of Nickelodeon's biggest hits at the time, The Amanda Show abruptly came to an end in 2002. Now, the reasons vary from person to person, with Dick Boy Dan Schneider himself claiming that he has no idea why the show ended, which is just like, it's your how do you have no idea? Sorry, it's Diddly Dan. Okay, but Amanda told the New York Times in 2002 that she simply wanted to move on. Quote, I didn't want to be a Nickelodeon kid when I was 30. I was having fun, but at 15, you didn't want to be doing what you did when you were 12. That's such a wild phrase for her to be able to say, the success. But it's a gamble that paid off in a big way when Amanda pivoted into feature film later that year with her debut in Big Fat Liar. And listen, okay, I know it's not a groundbreaking film, okay? But a feature is a feature, you know what I'm saying?
This is Doris Del Rio down in parking. Do you drive a Saturn, ma'am? Yes. It's parked on a dock. I'm not gonna say that.
Come on.
Hello?
Your car's parked on a dock.
Your car's parked on a dock.
It was around this time that cracks began to show in Amanda Bynes' public persona. Amanda hasn't always had the most stable of relationships with her parents, to the point that in 2003, she actually sought legal emancipation from them, a deal she was secretly working out with her agents without her parents knowing. Now, this isn't the kind of thing that you can keep a secret from your parents with how the process works. And Variety reported back in 2003 that when Rick Bynes found out about this, he fired Amanda's agents and managers, claiming at the time, quote, we just didn't need any at the time, so we decided not to have any. Holy shit, dude, okay, that is the most non-response response ever. Good grief. Okay, as far as I could find, Rick and Lynn have never directly addressed Amanda's attempted emancipation, but that didn't stop it from making the news, especially when it came out that Amanda had distanced herself from her parents and began spending a lot of time at a few friends' houses, specifically the house of former food blogger Lisa Lillian and her husband, you guessed it, Dan, who in the do you think you are, Schneider? Danny boy, they're coming for you, Dumpster Dan. Now, at the time, Lisa told People, quote, she was spending a lot of time with us, end quote. Short and sweet. But like, listen, like some sources even allege that Schneid and his wife were considering adopting Amanda, which is no, please stop.
No, God, please, no, 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 no!
A lot of the information behind this entire shit show has been kept under lock and key, and maybe for good reason. According to the recent documentary series Quiet on Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV, things became so fraught because of the situation that the police ended up allegedly being involved in some way, and the situation completely fractured Dan's relationship with Amanda and her parents. Now, this whole situation is actually something that Dan Schneider directly addressed in an interview with Boogie, who played Tebow on iCarly. Yes, you heard that right. Featured on, wait for it, Dan's very own YouTube channel, Dan Warp, in response to the Quiet on Set documentary.
Amanda was between the ages of 16 and 17, and she wanted to get emancipated from her parents, which was a fairly common thing with successful young actors. One night, it was very late, well after midnight, 1 or 2 in the morning, phone rang, I answered, it was Amanda. She was upset, she was in distress, she had had some conflict with her parents, I think her father, and she called me. I was immediately concerned about her safety. I called someone who I knew was fairly nearby. That person was able to go and pick her up. Then I knew she was safe, I felt better. She ended up being taken to the police.
Now, y'all, I could not let that interview go without us analyzing it. So I will actually be breaking that entire interview down piece by agonizing piece on my second channel, which is called Swoop 2, T-O-O, which will be linked down below and like in the pinned comment of this video. So just check that out, because there's a lot about this very sus interview that I believe requires Dan to take a dip, maybe an Arctic plunge in the sus pool. That's why you're not seeing it here, but we'll analyze it on Swoop 2. But look, unless Amanda speaks up, I can't really dispute what Dirty Dan is saying here definitively one way or the other. All that I can say is that this interview is a direct response to the release of Quiet on Set, which is a 4-part documentary series in which at least half of its runtime is devoted to Dan Schneider being a bad boss, a creepy man, an alleged abusive person who created content that put children in disturbingly sexualized situations for decades. That comes with countless witness testimonies and a number of receipts, including a gender discrimination lawsuit filed against Dan by some of his writers. I am quite certain he's full of shit. So yeah. And I am lightheaded from trying to do all of that in one take. Thanks, Dan. Sorry, back to it. In 2003, she starred in a show called What I Like About You, where the 17-year-old Amanda Bynes once again found love with her co-star Nick Zano, a 24-year-old man. Super! Yes, friends, it's the cesspool for all these fools. Come on in, the water's fine. But yeah, they broke up when she turned 18. So, you know, when she becomes an adult, the adult breaks up with her. Sucks for you, Nikki Poo. In 2006, she starred in She's the Man, a film where Amanda dresses as her twin brother to play on a boys' soccer team.
I know you. No.
Huh. Now, sidebar, but Paper Magazine actually credits Amanda as the reason that Channing Tatum, of all people, even has an acting career. In their 2018 profile on Amanda, she said, quote, I totally fought for Channing to get cast in that movie because he wasn't famous yet. He'd just done a Mountain Dew commercial, and I was like, this guy's a star. Every girl will love him. Listen, feel how you want to feel about Channing, but what would life be like without this bizarre sailor tap dancing clip? Now, Amanda's experience on She's the Man wasn't all sunshine and roses, though. In that same article, she talks about how the experience of watching herself on screen dressed as a boy sent her into a deep 4 to 6 month depression. She doesn't really go too deep into detail about this, but in my opinion, what Amanda may have been describing could have been an experience of gender dysphoria. Now, as I'm sure most of us know, gender dysphoria is defined by Mayo Clinic as the feeling of discomfort or distress that might occur in people whose gender identity differs from their sex assigned at birth or sex-related physical characteristics. Now, where it gets interesting is that we can often talk about gender dysphoria in the context of, like a trans person not identifying with their assigned at birth sex. In this case, Amanda may have suffered from an inverse of that. It's what we call situational dysphoria, but in the context of gender, meaning that when she saw herself as a man and was filled with immense dread that left her in a depression, she experienced what I imagine trans folks might feel like when faced with their assigned genders. Now, I'm sharing this because I think Amanda's experience is very valid if that's what was going on, and it may even be relatable to anybody watching suffering from gender dysphoria. If you think you've had an experience like this, please just know that you absolutely are not alone. If your experience is the opposite, as in you dress as another gender and experience joy, you're also not alone. You are valid, period. Okay, I know it seems like we've spent a long time describing Amanda Bynes' successful career. For over a decade, she was a rising star, especially with her SAG-nominated turn in the 2007 musical comedy Hairspray. And while Hairspray wasn't her last successful film, Hairspray truly marked the end of an era for Amanda Bynes. It was supposed to be her big Hollywood transition to an adult career. It was a massive critical and commercial success that debuted in over 3,000 theaters. Amanda was the choice, but she wouldn't be for long. So Amanda is now 21 years old. She teamed up with Stephen Barry's to create an affordable fashion line called Dear, one of her biggest dreams since she was a kid, that tragically came crashing down when Stephen Barry's filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy not even a year later. That same year, she entered into a fairly high-profile relationship with another man. This time she wasn't underage dating a much older man. She was 21 dating a 34-year-old Seth MacFarlane of Family Guy fame. Make of that what you will. There's an interesting thing to keep in mind about the year 2007 for context, though. In 2007 was the golden age of tabloid bullshit. Of TMZ, paparazzi, trashy stories that relished in the downfalls of high-profile women, seemingly for no reason most of the time. This was the year of Britney Spears shaving her head, of Anna Nicole Smith being mocked until she sadly passed, Paris Hilton spending 23 days in jail, Lindsay Lohan going to rehab, Vanessa Hudgens' nudes being exploited. I mean, I'd have an easier time naming the women who weren't targeted by tabloids at this time.
All you people care about is readers and making money off of her. Leave her alone.
But somehow Amanda Bynes managed to portray herself as above the drama, saying later that, quote, "I never really liked going out that much. I only started going out when I was around 25 years old." In fact, alcohol wasn't a problem for her like it was for her peers, since she told Paper she never really drank as a kid and didn't even like the taste. And it's not like somehow growing up under the spotlight was easy for her.
I was thinking, you grew up on television, and a lot of us have to go through these awkward stages in our life. You had to do that on TV. Was that hard for you?
Not when you're 9. When you're 9, it's sort of sweet. But when you're 13 and 14 and you're getting pimples and you're growing 6 inches and you're awkward, it's not fun at all.
That happened to me in my late 20s, by the way.
But let's switch perspectives real quick. Y'all know I like to do the perspective moment. Let's just do a quick little switch. One of Amanda's co-stars on All That, Chelsea Rummett, was interviewed a few years ago by Radar Online, who described Amanda's persona as being a very calculated one, saying that Amanda was cold, conceited, and closed off. Quote, "Her persona, it felt like you'd shake her hand and she'd barely touch your fingers. She was closed off to everyone. You'd ask her a question and she'd give you a quick answer to end the conversation. It's like she didn't want you to know her." Chelsea also alleged that this was a front for Amanda being one of the most self-conscious people she had ever met, saying that when Amanda was on red carpets, quote, "If there was Lindsay Lohan or someone else, she would always look at herself and fix her hair. You could just tell she was self-conscious once her career started not being so great. I didn't think she liked not being in the spotlight and not being number one. I think she became so addicted to it, it became a lifestyle." According to that, Amanda held up a front. And it's no big deal. Who the hasn't done that in their life, right? We all have fronts that we hold up. It's called survival. But even that front was a cover for something she used to do to take the edge off as far back as her teen years. Quote, "I started smoking marijuana when I was 16. Even though everyone thought I was the good girl, I did smoke Mary from that point on. I didn't get addicted then, and I wasn't abusing it, and I wasn't going out and portraying or making a fool of myself yet. None of us knew at the time, but according to her feature in Paper, making Hairspray coincided with Amanda's descent into the world of recreational substance use. Quote, later on it progressed to doing Molly and ecstasy. I tried C 3 times, but I never got high from C. I never liked it. It was never my substance of choice, but it was when she was, quote, reading an article in a magazine that called Adderall the new skinny pill, and they were talking about how women were taking it to stay thin. I was like, well, I have to get my hands on that. And so she went to a psychiatrist, purposefully faked symptoms of ADHD, and was able to get a prescription for Adderall. And I'm just like, wow, dude, okay, so like just random sidebar, like I've never tried Adderall or any medication for my ADHD, so like I don't know the process, and I should probably try something to help me. You know, I'm just out here raw dogging it. But you know, we certainly should never stigmatize or shame someone if they need a prescription to help them navigate life. But aside from all of that, I'm actually just kind of like, is it really that simple to just like fake symptoms and get a prescription? Like, holy dude, that's just like so wild to me, man. Just, I don't know, man. Stay safe out there and please work with your doctor for what's right for you. Okay, sidebar done. From that point on, Amanda admits that she was abusing Adderall on a daily basis. At first, she was using it to stay focused on her work, but things went haywire. The earliest she remembers Adderall having a negative effect on her life was when she was cast in the 2011 Owen Wilson comedy Hall Pass, another film that she thought would graduate her into more adult style of comedy. Quote, when I was doing Hall Pass, I remember being in the trailer and I used to chew the Adderall tablets because I thought they made me more high that way. I remember chewing on a bunch of them and literally being scatterbrained and not being able to focus on my lines or memorize them for that matter. Amanda told Paper magazine that when she saw herself on screen, she started freaking out because she thought her arm was fatter than it actually was. She remembers this sending her into a severe state of panic on set to the point that she couldn't focus on remembering her lines. She would take hours longer in the dressing room and was generally erratic for what was a relatively minor role. She ended up leaving the film mid-production and was replaced by Alexandra Daddario, who went on to become an Emmy-nominated actress for The White Lotus, so go Alexandra. It didn't get any better from there though. Before Hall Pass, Amanda had wrapped production on the film Easy A with Emma Stone, and when she got home, she went to a screening of the film and said, quote, I literally couldn't stand my appearance in that movie and I didn't like my performance. I was absolutely convinced I needed to stop acting after seeing it. I was high on M when I saw that, but for some reason it really started to affect me. I don't know if it was an influence-induced psychosis or what, but it affected my brain in a different way that it affects other people. It absolutely changed my perception of things. I saw it and I was convinced that I should never be on camera again. Dude, that is legitimately heartbreaking. And I don't know, man, intrusive thoughts are a bitch that can hit anyone. It doesn't matter how successful somebody is. And this isn't just Amanda saying for the sake of saying. In July 2010, Amanda took to Twitter, yeah, that's a name for it, to Twitter and announced that she had decided to retire from acting at the age of 24. Quote, being an actress isn't as fun as it may seem. If I don't love something anymore, I stop doing it. I don't love acting anymore, so I've stopped it. I know 24 is a young age to retire, but you heard it here first. I #retired. Now, the reaction from the general public at this time was one of shock, but also generally one of understanding. I mean, Amanda had been working nonstop publicly since she was 10 years old, and the last thing anybody wanted was for one of the last unproblematic public figures to burn themselves out. Unfortunately, that level of goodwill would not last long for Amanda. As she puts it to Paper, I just had no purpose in life. I had been working my whole life and now I was doing nothing. I had a lot of time on my hands and I would wake and bake and literally be stoned all day long. Now, she claims this retirement enabled her to hang out with a seedier crowd and isolate and get really into substances in what she described as a really dark, sad world for me, where she was just stuck at home getting high, watching TV and tweeting. Her retirement didn't even last 2 years when she made headlines again for the first time in a noteworthy way in March 2012. Now, this was for all the wrong reasons and it was at a truly alarming frequency. On March 7th, 2012, Amanda was pulled over in LA for talking on her phone while driving. As the the cop pulled up, he collected all of her info when suddenly Amanda just drove off. Okay, she just gone, girl, gone. She out, she gone. TMZ reports that she showed up to the police station later to sign the ticket, which is wow. Eventually facing charges for fleeing the scene, which again, like, okay. I mean, she's all like, bitch, I don't have time for this. Okay, I gotta go. I will see you later. I'll come back. And then, like, you know, she came back. On April 4th, 2012, the West Hollywood Sheriff's Station confirmed to Entertainment Weekly that Amanda Bynes had been pulled over and arrested for driving under the influence after attempting to pass a stopped cop car, only to slam into the back of another vehicle and attempted to flee the scene. How horrifying for the person or people who got hit. On May 4th, Amanda was pulled over by the LAPD for reportedly hitting yet another car. On June 5th, she was charged for the April DUI. Now, I'll get into more examples later since like it technically started before this, but this is around the time that major media outlets began picking up on Amanda Bynes' unusual way of using Twitter. After this accident, she tweeted directly at then President Obama saying, quote, "I don't drink, please fire the cop who arrested me. I also don't hit and run, the end." Yeah. The next day, she doesn't show up to court, but sends her attorney to plead not guilty. August 4th, Amanda reportedly rear ends another driver. My gosh, stay off the road, causing $800 of damage before driving off without exchanging insurance or calling the police. August 20th, another accident. September 4th, she's charged with hit and run on 2 counts for the April and August crimes. It takes until September 6th for the 5 crimes I listed here to catch up to her and for the DMV to suspend her driver's license. You know, you got 5 shots, I guess, and then the DMV will do something about it. Yeah. Amazingly, she still gets pulled over again on September 9th for driving without her headlights. September 16th, her BMW is impounded after she's pulled over for driving with a suspended license. September 21, charged with driving on a suspended license. It just goes on and 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 on. Now, as one would expect, the press ended up having a field day with the sudden and shocking decline of Amanda Bynes' public persona.
That's Amanda Bynes in Hollywood. You know, the troubled actress that just told People magazine she's amazing, which isn't exactly how our photographer felt when she allegedly left these scratches on his neck and arm. Let's rewind a bit. She started off a lot more shy when we spotted her heading for the gym.
Either way, man, I wish you the best, Mom. Hey, for real.
Okay, wait.
No, I really wish you the best. All right, can I just get one clean frame?
You have to delete that one in my face. I need to look beautiful. And it's a bad shot, all right? Please.
Well, if Amanda doesn't think she looks good, she might be a little crazy. Oh, wait.
You look gorgeous. Hold on. Right here. No, come towards me. No, come towards me. Stop. No, just walk towards me. Can I just get a shot of you walking towards me?
I'm asking you not to.
I'm sorry. What in the wild world of gaslighting even is this? Like, she asked, okay, I'm just gonna point it out. She asked him to stop following her multiple times. This woman asked this man with a camera to stop following her.
There's asking, then there's this.
Let go of the camera. Excuse me, let go of my camera. Please let go of my camera. All right, can you let go of my camera? Amanda, stop.
Didn't she want to be left alone?
All right, I'm done. Ow! Ow! Yo, what the hell? Yo, let me go. What the hell's wrong with you? Stop that. You dug your nails into my neck, lady.
First she asked, nicely enough, then more defensively, and even if she shouldn't have dug her nails into him, which, that's not the move, it's sort of also hard to blame her, right? Like, I'm just kind of like, at what point do you call this harassment from the person following her? Like, but on and on it goes. And at a certain point, I have to stop listing the alleged crimes and bizarre occurrences and say simply, why? Amanda Bynes' current account has been on Twitter since January 2011, but she used to be on Twitter under the handle @Chickie and had developed quite a reputation for herself with random non sequiturs, like the time she unabashedly confessed her love for Snapple, or when she referred to creepers as Barf City, or that time she professed her love for black men. A lot. Okay, we love to see it. Maybe that Hairspray song was a bit of a statement. Huh, Amanda? You know, Twitter be twittering in ways that don't always make sense or age well. That changed a bit in 2012. Now, I'm not even going to try to present these in order. I could do an entire doc on the wildest Amanda Bynes tweets. But for instance, in March 2013, she tweeted, and I'm going to censor a bit, quote, "I want Drake to M my V." Well, Feedly dee! This was a bit of a new level in escalation for Amanda. This tweet, for reasons that still aren't clear to me, made national news and even reached Drake himself in an interview with XXL magazine, who said, quote, "I don't even know who that is doing that or what that's about. If that's her, I guess it's a little weird and disturbing. It's obviously a behavioral pattern that is way bigger than me. Whoever is behind it, whether it's her or somebody else, they know people are paying attention, so they keep it going." To be fully clear, Amanda has been very wishy-washy over the years about this and other tweets, at one point claiming that she's been hacked or that a friend used her account, but in 2018, she took full ownership of this tweet.
What's it like to get your vagina murdered? I don't know. I'm like, what does that even mean? It just means like, me, Drake.
Listen, okay, I'm gonna leave that one there. Amanda's time on Twitter was so erratic that it even bled to more real-life consequences, with Amanda threatening litigation against news publications who reported on her changing physical appearance, or even on her Twitter. This article from July 2013 from Complex even lays out a full timeline of some of Amanda's more eccentric moments in relation to them. A year later, Amanda actually dropped the video. I know you know which one. It became a meme. You know, everybody laughed, haha. It was titled, "I'm sucking on a Sour Patch Kid, listening to music, getting ready for tonight." And I don't know about you, but this video looks kind of alarming, right? Now, I'm not gonna go through all of Complex's timeline, but just know it involves Amanda ripping into them for covering that video, ripping into Kid Cudi while revealing she used to date him, threatening to sue Complex, calling a bunch of Complex editors ugly, and so on. Sort of like when she tweeted unprovoked, "You're ugly, Miley Cyrus." She also called Barack and Michelle Obama ugly. In fact, okay, Miss Amanda called so many people ugly that I gotta give a big verbal shout out to Mila Tequila, whose coverage of the Amanda Bynes story is outstanding, but especially for this incredible montage and analysis.
Says she only has hot friends and she's allergic to alcohol. The video of her running on a treadmill, and apparently getting the cops called on her by the Kardashians' ex-publicist Jonathan Jackson. He tweeted that Amanda was suicidal and so messed up on drugs. And he was like, "NYPD, help her now." Feeling worried, Jenny McCarthy, former Playboy model and woman who always hosts the New Year's Eve ball drop, spreads the rumor on her Twitter.
Now, I'll be getting into this a little bit later, but it's very clear from the sheer volume of tweets, crimes, and overall incidents in Amanda Bynes' life from 2012 to 2014 that something was seriously wrong. Amanda Bynes once, unprovoked, tweeted at Rihanna, quote, "You look so ugly trying to be white." Now, this alone is not something a white woman should be saying to a black woman, obviously, or any person should be saying. But what makes these tweets worse, as if they aren't terrible enough, was when she followed it up by deleting that tweet and instead saying, quote, "Chris Brown beat you because you're not pretty." Enough, my gosh. Okay, listen, if ever there were like someone should be canceled because of one singular tweet, that would be the tweet. Actually, the two of them put back together, back to back to back, those two alone, if I'm just looking at those things in a person's story, then like off. Fuck all the way off. I don't even need to like point out why that is so and wrong, but I'm trying this thing where we look at perspectives, right? And so that's what this whole documentary is about, looking at the perspectives. And so let's continue to do that. So Rihanna, who at this time was more vocal on Twitter, responded. Imagine Rihanna responding to you being an asshole. "You see what happens when they cancel intervention?" To which Amanda responded, "Unlike your fugly face self, I don't do drugs. You need the intervention, dog. I met your ugly face in person. You aren't pretty, you know it." I mean, look, the first indication that someone is not well when they're tweeting things like this is the very obvious fact that Rihanna is stunning. So when someone's going on and on and on about calling someone like globally considered one of the most beautiful people in the world, then you know something's going on and they might need help. But like I've said in the past, like I don't want Amanda Bynes to get canceled or anything. I'm more of an accountability over cancel kind of person, and no one ever gets canceled really anyways, except maybe Harvey Weinstein, maybe R. Kelly, hopefully P. Diddy. They gon' get you, Diddy. If anything, this screams to me that Amanda really, really, really needed help. This wasn't a mask off moment. It looks like a mental collapse happening in real time, especially after she announced she was suddenly shaving her head. Amanda would eventually apologize for everything she said on Twitter in that Paper Magazine entry with a blanket apology for all of it that said, "I'm really ashamed and embarrassed with the things I said. I can't turn back time, but if I could, I would. And I'm so sorry to whoever I hurt and whoever I lied about, because it truly eats away at me. It makes me feel so horrible and sick to my stomach and sad. Everything I worked my whole life to achieve, I kind of ruined it all through Twitter, but it's definitely not Twitter's fault. It's my own fault." It's May 2013. Amanda Bynes is in the lobby of her New York apartment, allegedly rolling and lighting a joint for what has been described as not the first time, which inspires the building staff to narc her out and call the cops. Amanda heads back up to her room, and when the cops arrive, the responding police see Amanda dressed in a crazy wig and old school Nikes, claim they can smell weed smoke emanating from her door. They knock, she opens the door. As the police claim, they see what they believe is a bong and ask Amanda about it, and that's when this happens. Quote, "I observed defendant grab said bong, run to the westbound facing window, and throw it out the window where numerous pedestrians were walking on the 8th Avenue and West 47th Street sidewalks below." To which Amanda responds, quote, "It was just a vase." Now here's the thing, I could take this a number of different ways. Amanda, according to eyewitnesses and herself, definitely threw something out the window. And police later found a smashed glass something, but it was never, to my understanding, definitively proven that Amanda had thrown an actual bong out her window. But I'm just like, did somebody smell the glass on the ground? Because you know that it stank like a skunk. I'm just gonna say that. If y'all got proof, then leave it in the comments, okay? But it didn't stop police from arraigning her on charges of reckless endangerment, attempted tampering with physical evidence, and unlawful possession of the devil's lettuce, all of which were misdemeanors carrying a maximum of 1 year in jail, none of which were anywhere near as bad as some of the things she had done in the past year alone. At her court appearance, where this iconic photo came from, Amanda maintained that it was just a vase, and she was released pending her next court date under the condition that she not miss her next court date.
Amanda, how was it?
I'm the biggest fan, Amanda.
Amanda, how do you feel? How do you feel, Amanda? You were crying?
Like everything about Amanda Bynes' life at this point, no matter your opinion on her lifestyle, her tweets, or even her actions, seems like kind of a living hell. Like, she retired young, yet had been constantly scrutinized and followed by paparazzi just waiting for her to constantly lose her shit. I mean, it was good money for those tabloids, but at what cost? Not that they're, you know, ever thinking of that. And yet, instead of intervening in any way, people followed and essentially harassed her for the next big scoop on whatever misstep she would take next. It was a front row seat to one of the most dramatic declines in celebrity history. Also, it's skipping Britney Spears and everything she went through. And whether we wanted to look away or not, none of us could, right? And there was nothing that we could do to stop what was happening. When even Jenny McCarthy is tweeting in 2013 that Amanda Bynes needs help, you know things have gotten bad. And believe it or not, they still got worse. It's July 2013 now, and a man named Andrew Liverpool was on his way home from work in Thousand Oaks when he saw something you don't see every day. A small fire in the driveway of a house, and a woman in a panic trying to snuff out the flames that had caught her left pant leg.
I see this girl with her pant leg on fire and a gas can. I see this girl with her pant leg on fire and a gas can trailing fire through the driveway. I quickly pull over to go help her, and when I got over here, she put the fire out on her leg and was rushing over to her dog. And then I kicked the gas can over and moved it to the middle of the driveway so nothing else would catch on fire. And I said, "Are you okay?" Like, she was kind of frantic and discombobulated, and then he was laying down right here, trying to roll or do something to take off the fire from her pants.
So her pants are on fire?
Her pants are on fire.
How big was the fire, would you say?
It was pretty big. I mean, it covered her whole pant leg, and then the gas can was about over here, and just, it was trailing down this whole section, and I moved it over there.
Amanda told him she wasn't hurt, and after she disappeared, he saw her a short while later walking with the dog near a liquor store down the street. At this point, Andrew pulled over and called 911 right as a taxi pulled up. Andrew tried to block Amanda's path, but she shouted, "Don't touch me or I'll call 911," before getting in and speeding off. However, his 911 call had indeed alerted local deputies, and they pulled the cab over to take Amanda in. Now, it's still not entirely clear why Amanda set this fire or where she even thought she was. The actual owner of this house had no relation to Amanda whatsoever and is just as lost as I am. Later footage was released from the liquor store, CCTV, showing that after the fire burnt Amanda's dog, she ran into an employees only area to try to rinse her dog off, which is just a horrifying story. This entire situation was really up, and when authorities brought Amanda in, they believed that she fit the criteria for a 5150 psychiatric hold, which had her detained for 72 hours in a mental health facility. A judge would later agree to extend her stay, and remember how Amanda's parents had moved to California to keep a closer eye on her? Yeah, well, the judge saw it fit to give them a temporary guardianship over Amanda, which was followed by some time she spent in a rehab center. And then by August, something that may sound sadly familiar to you happened. If you're familiar at all with, say, Britney Spears' story, Lynn Bynes applied to be given a temporary conservatorship over Amanda Bynes, which was approved. For the sake of being thorough here, Investopedia defines a conservatorship as a legal status in which a court appoints a person to manage the financial and personal affairs of a minor or incapacitated person. A conservator may also serve as a guardian who is responsible for establishing and monitoring the physical care of the individual and managing their living arrangements. Now, to put it simply, a guardianship means you're in charge of someone's physical well-being, whereas a conservatorship deals with the financial well-being. So why would Lynn Bynes want to be in charge of Amanda Bynes' money? That can be answered via legal documents TMZ obtained that stated when Amanda was put on a 5150, she had $4 million in her checking account. However, that number had dropped substantially after a recent $1.2 million mystery purchase, as well as two separate $100,000 withdrawals, meaning it appeared Amanda was spending her fortune fast. Lynn and Rick allegedly had absolutely no idea where Amanda had spent that money, but theorized that a substantial portion of it was spent on illegal substances, but especially the devil's lettuce, a little sucky the funky, puff puff pass, bitch. It really cannot be understated just how much Amanda Bynes loves the milligrams. Now, those documents go on to further state that Lynn and Rick believe Amanda was unhoused at the time and that Amanda had become so paranoid over being watched that she started covering smoke alarms in her apartment and in hotels with towels and taping windows shut to stop the paparazzi from shooting her. Furthermore, it claims that Amanda has, quote, profound issues with her body image and is obsessed with the fact that she and others are ugly. I really wasn't kidding earlier when I said that business on her Twitter wasn't a joke. It seems to stem from a very deeply rooted psychological thing that brought us to where we are today. Now, doctors at the time of her conservatorship being granted believed that Amanda could be a person living with schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, though this is something Lynn directly disputed in March of 2014. I don't know why Lynn did this, and later on you'll find out why this is confusing, but finally, the documents also revealed that Lynn and Rick have absolutely no idea how Amanda got to LA from New York City without a license, an ID, or a car, and claimed that Amanda told them that she cabbed it. After being granted temporary control to get Amanda's finances back in order, over a year passed where Amanda was in recovery, receiving treatment, and seemed to be on a solid path forward. I mean, as part of her mission to get well, she even enrolled in the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, or FIDM as it's known, in Los Angeles, Angeles so that she could experience a full circle moment and finally pursue her lifelong dream of becoming a designer. In April 2014, she even got her driver's license back, and she had turned things around enough that Lynn's temporary conservatorship ended. And yeah, I just saw you look at the runtime on this doc. No, we are not done. The first setback Amanda experienced, unfortunately, was yet another DIY not even 6 months after getting her license back. The girl is nothing if not consistent in this era of her life. Sadly, this time the influence was a stimulant believed to once again be Adderall. It's reported this time that she stopped at a red light mid-intersection, and even though she was cooperative, she once again looked a bit under the weather and failed countless sobriety tests. This is bad because she's literally been on probation this whole time. She was charged with a misdemeanor and released on a bail amount of $15,000 to somebody that wasn't Rick or Lynn, who had no idea this had happened and had been out of contact with Amanda since the end of the conservatorship.
When was the last time you heard from her?
Well, the end of the conservatorship. I mean, other than, you know, readings. We knew nothing about this. We were called by the press. I know nothing. And the press doesn't seem to know much, so I don't know.
So she was released yesterday. It wasn't to your care?
No. No, the conservatorship ended. You know that, right? It ended.
Okay.
Yeah, and you read that? It ended. And once it ends, she's 28. She does what she wants. So we don't know.
From this point on, the whole exhausting process started over again. In October, she was reportedly kicked out of FIDM. Her page 6, a classmate named Rachel Loritz, claimed, quote, Bynes would sometimes skip class or show up high on the devil's lettuce and cause horrendous arguments, and at other times, Bynes would randomly laugh out loud. Bynes' disruptive behavior didn't stop at her outbursts and attitude. She would often pay other students to complete her homework. In another incident, the troubled starlet reportedly went into a tizzy after she was caught cheating on a test. And it didn't get any better that month. First, she was spotted at JFK Airport in New York, smoking a cigarette with a strange bandage over her face, allegedly speaking to inanimate objects such as a tree. This reset the entire tabloid process all over again, like honestly the worst possible thing for her that I could think of. It would get worse when, well, did I mention that Amanda loved Twitter? Yeah. Well, did I mention that she never stopped using it? Because on October 10th, 2014, Amanda dropped a number of now deleted bombs on Twitter that really shook the internet. So trigger warning for CSA, non-graphic of course. It all started, to my understanding, with a tweet that simply read, quote, my dad was verbally and physically abusive to me as a child. Now, I'm not gonna read all of these, but the thread described a series of years in which Rick allegedly hurt Amanda physically and emotionally and proceeded to touch himself in front of her whenever he couldn't get what he wanted, allegedly. Now, the thread ends with Amanda saying, quote, I will not be manipulated or brainwashed by anyone anymore, so let me live my own life free of unhappiness and misery. So call me what you want, but please do not call me crazy or insane because that's a joke. When approached for comment, Lynn Bynes immediately denied Amanda's allegations, releasing a statement through her lawyer that said, quote, I am heartbroken today for my husband of 47 years. Rick has been the best father and husband a family can ask for. He has never used Amanda or other children physically or sexually. These accusations are absolutely horrible and could not be further from the truth. These allegations stem from Amanda's mental state at the moment. They have no basis in reality. It saddens me beyond belief that my husband's character could be slandered in such a way. Now, Amanda followed this up by retracting and deleting all of her allegations, saying, quote, my dad never did any of those things. The microchip in my brain made me say those things, but he's the one that ordered them to microchip me. I don't know, dude. This is really sad. Like, what do you even say to that? Did he abuse her? Did he not? Honestly, probably no one would ever know the answer to that except the two of them. But this microchip, what is she implying? Did she feel like her dad forced her to, I don't know, get into acting or things like that she didn't want to be in? I don't know. Shortly after Amanda's latest tweet spiral, she hopped on a plane at JFK in New York City and got off at LAX, where she was immediately cordoned off into a car and placed under yet another psychiatric hold at a hospital in Pasadena, California. Just a few days later, Lynn Bynes was granted conservatorship over Amanda again, this time for good. This time, the grounds included everything she had done since her DIY, including the remarks about the microchip in her brain, but also an attempt to shoplift, allegedly scratching a woman at a nightclub, getting kicked out of JFK, and once again, large amounts of spending. Quote, "It has been reported that she has recently made extensive purchases as gifts from jewelry stores such as Cartier for strangers." Sometimes conservatorships actually are the right thing. I'm not gonna sit here and say definitively if this was the right thing, but just know that sometimes they are the healthiest thing for a person. Now, Amanda took the news that her parents controlled her finances about as well as could be expected and began tweeting about the frustrations of her situation, claiming that her parents had her on a $50 a day allowance via Visa gift cards, which she claimed was really annoying. She also claimed that she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder before later tweeting that was false. Quote, "I was at a friend's apartment last night and one of my friends tweeted my phone. Sorry, guys." Though the final nail in the coffin as far as the control Lynn and Rick had over Amanda's life goes would have been when audio leaked in November of 2014 of Amanda going on this rant.
I'm sick and tired of like having to feed your nasty ass egos, but like thanks for letting me stay with you guys, but now I'm scared that you guys don't want me there, and like I don't want you guys to like be mad at me. I didn't do anything wrong. It's illegal to read my mind in my mind, and like that's fine that you want to be me, because that really is a big compliment. Like thank you, because that means like you want to be me, and that makes me want to call you pretty as well, because like all this has done is like made me look ugly without the end. Like stop with the dad nonsense. Like so sorry to say such thing. You're so gay, it hurts my feelings.
According to TMZ, the audio was recorded by one of Amanda's roommates at the time while they were driving, and it's a disturbing admission of violence Amanda claimed to want to commit against her parents. Importantly, the article mentions that members of Amanda's family actually wanted this audio posted, quote, "which could be a wake-up call for medical professionals to intervene and get her help." Now, I mean, I would like to say another way to get her help would maybe to be share that recording privately with medical professionals, but I'm not gonna judge. In time, that wake-up call did seem to arrive. Things did seem to straighten out over time for Amanda. She slowly began making a few interviews, including the Paper Magazine profile I've talked about, as well as her first on-camera interview in over 4 years with The Lowdown.
Okay, I've been going to school lately, fashion school, FIDM, and I love it. I've learned how to sew, I make patterns, and I want to start a clothing line in the future. So FIDM has been helping me with that. Other than that, I hike, I go spinning, take spinning classes, and I feed the homeless, and that's been really interesting and fun.
She even checked herself into rehab following another relapse in 2018. She also successfully re-enrolled in FIDM and graduated in 2019. Love that for her. It was at AA after her stint in rehab that she even met a man named Paul Michael, who she started dating before becoming engaged to him in 2020. Paperwork had been filed in August of 2018 to continue Amanda's conservatorship, but following Britney Spears' successful fight against her own conservatorship, so, you know, go Britney, we love to see her freedom, Amanda fought to have hers undone as well. And in March 2022, her wish was granted. Amanda was once again free to do whatever the hell she wanted. Now, before we get to all of the recent developments, I wanted to ask a simple question. How and why did all of this happen? At the very top of this doc, I led with a quote from a 2002 New York Times article. That article referred to Amanda in its title as a proud product of the Nick pipeline. But it's important to note that Amanda never wanted to be tied to Nickelodeon forever. She hustled nonstop all the way through the most formative years of her life, and in the process, nobody seemed to notice all of the red flags. And yes, y'all, I'm aware of the Lindsay Lohan claims, and no, we will not be digging into that. The truth is, Amanda has been forthcoming as of late that she has struggled with addiction and mental health issues. And when you combine that with the non-stop tabloids following her through every single avenue of life, that isn't the healthiest place to be for someone who isn't receiving adequate help. And it doesn't help that much older men have been preying on Amanda for as long as she's been in the industry. Even if you don't include the allegations against her father, since she has retracted them, Amanda dated a 19-year-old Taryn Killam when she was 15, 24-year-old Nick Zano when she was 17, 34-year-old Seth MacFarlane when she was 21, which yes, is legal and consenting, but do you see the troubling trend that Amanda lived through for a while, not to mention all of the adult men that she would have been constantly around? What makes all this even ickier is the constant presence in Amanda's youth of Dan Doo-Doo Schneiderpants, her former producer on All That and The Amanda Show, among many others. Now, if you didn't know, I'm sure you did, Dan faced a reckoning of his own when he parted ways with Nickelodeon in 2018 after years of allegations of abuse and misconduct came to a head, culminating in a bombshell 2022 insider report that detailed some of his ickier interactions with children. Let me know if you would like to see a full swoop, a documentary deep dive on Dan Schneider, because I've got some thoughts for you, Dan. It's definitely worth noting that Dan himself acted in all of his shows and would often play the role of the bumbling, character. This wasn't unusual for Dan, but also not unusual was Dan being inappropriate around child actors, and Amanda was no exception, at least in my opinion. There was a running segment on The Amanda Show where she would be in a hot tub with various guests or actors pretending to be guests, which is already just kind of like a bizarre concept for a child actor to be made to do. So guess who shows up in the hot tub at one point? Yeah, he's literally in the cesspool. Ew. Now, when she moved on to do What I Like About You for the defunct WB network, he developed that show for her too. And to be clear, Amanda Bynes has never directly made any allegations against Danny Boy or any direct references to him being inappropriate with her, which we certainly hope that he wasn't. However, there are some interesting bits of context that I'd like to present just so you know what Amanda's working conditions were like.
From 1992 to 1996, I was a series regular on Nickelodeon's All That. I was only 12 years old, and that's when my nightmare began. I was physically, mentally, emotionally abused in front of the producers and cast members, and sometimes they could even hear me yelling. But nothing was done to help me until approximately 1996 when CPS was called. When CPS came, I was pressured by all the adults that were set to protect me to stay silent. I did, and I have. But I can no longer stay silent, and I won't. My name is Angelique Bates, and I am an adult survivor of child abuse, and this is my story.
That's Amanda's former co-star from All That, Angelique Bates. Angelique, I just want to say you truly are so brave for speaking out, especially based on what we know about Nickelodeon now, and I wish you nothing but healing. Unfortunately, at this time, stories like this and others were closely guarded secrets in the industry. So way back on that day at the Laugh Factory comedy camp when Amanda Bynes was only 10 and she was approached by a pair of men from Nickelodeon who were looking to fill the recently vacated spot on their hit show, she and her family could never have expected what they were walking into, and I think Angelique's context for quitting is important in understanding Amanda Bynes' story. So is the story from back in the year 2000 when Amanda Show writer Jenny Kilgren, who was reportedly one of the only 2 female writers on the staff, filed a lawsuit against Dan's production company, accusing the company of gender discrimination and a hostile work environment. As reported back then by IndieWire, quote, Kilgren's lawsuit included a number of disturbing allegations and included a letter from the other woman writer that insisted Schneider asked herself and Kilgren to perform embarrassing acts for money, including simulating being while telling a story about her high school years. I cannot fucking imagine. This might also be a good time to remind you that Amanda almost moved in with Dan Schneider when she was 16 or 17 while trying to get emancipated. Fun, right? Furthermore, the Amanda Show was really not a safe environment for kids, as we now know. What with, there now being 2 known registered S offenders that worked on the show, Jason Handy, who I had mentioned earlier, and Brian Peck, a former Nickelodeon dialogue coach who was convicted in 2004 of an incredibly long list of disturbing crimes against an at the time unknown minor, who in 2024 came forward in the docuseries Quiet on Set, revealed to be none other than Drake Bell. The absolute only grace that I can give Dan Schneider. And let's be real, my grace today is that petty as f, is that Drake actually goes to bat for Dan in that series, claiming that Dan is the only adult who had his back when he spoke out against Brian Peck. However, that grace is short-lived when we point out that this still means that there were 2 people actively harming minors employed under Dan's watch. And my petty-ass grace becomes non-existent when we move on to something a bit more alleged, not by me, but by an apparent whistleblower who came forward with information about Dan and Amanda. In 2019, Twitter user Obscure Nick claimed that Amanda was a favorite of Dan's because of how hands-off her parents were, and that because of the hands-off approach, Dan would personally give her Adderall so that she would be more energetic in scenes. Adderall that doo-doo Dan Schneider allegedly gave her. The same dick boy Dan who allegedly would also hold Amanda from behind, quote, like he was her boyfriend. At the time, these allegations were simply random tweets by a random Twitter user. However, some of their tweets have actually been confirmed by a number of Diabolical Dan's former employees in the docuseries Quiet on Set, including further allegations that Dan would have Amanda and other girls and women give him massages on set, which is so incredibly inappropriate. I don't even listen, you got Dance Boy Dan over here admitting to these things in his interview. I'm gonna use that term so loosely because that is not an interview, that is a planned puff piece. But yeah, again, I do a full analysis of the Dan Schneider with Boogie interview on my second channel, Swoop 2. So make sure you follow and subscribe my channel there and check out the full analysis and reaction, all of that. We're gonna go deep into that over on my second channel. Back to that engagement Amanda announced. She announced it on Valentine's Day. We don't really know too much about Paul Michael because aside from the times that she posted about him, Amanda and Paul kept their relationship as low-key as a former child star with a permanent band. The paparazzi following her could be. By the little that they showed, the relationship seemed happy. I don't know, but Amanda seemed really happy. And in May 2020, they even shared a photo of a sonogram announcing that they were expecting a child. Everything from this point was, once again, a bit of a slow decline though, starting with Amanda's attorney announcing that the pregnancy was not even a thing. What the f is going on? In March 2022, Amanda posted to Instagram in light of the rumors that the two of them had broken up that this wasn't true and they were still together. In July though, it was discovered that the two had actually ended their engagement the year before and had stayed in a relationship until Amanda decided to go on an Instagram live kick where she suddenly, out of nowhere, alleged that Paul had an addiction to, and these are her words, not mine, using crack and looking at mom and son. Poor dear God, I'm not even saying the rest of that. According to her live, Paul allegedly stopped taking his meds, starting using drugs in secret, vandalized his mom's house, and hid salmon under her bed. Paul, for his part, also took to Instagram in a now deleted post that said he didn't, quote, know what the f she's talking about. Y'all gotta stop talking your shit. You guys don't know anything. He later followed this up by saying Amanda's allegations were completely false and that he had been sober for quite some time. Amanda's outburst had come seemingly out of nowhere, just hours after releasing a song she and Paul had written together to her stories, as well as after posting a photo of him sitting on a couch, according to Page 6. Now, according to TMZ, Paul ended up calling the police after her story, claiming that she relapsed and had been taking Paul's prescription Adderall. In a follow-up story, Amanda clarified by saying, quote, Paul looked up MILFs, moms and sons just popped up. Y'all, back to the quote, also, I went to CVS, bought a drug test, Paul tested clean, Paul's clean. Unsurprisingly, the two split up for good. And I'm not laughing because it's funny, I'm just laughing because they probably shouldn't be together, right? Now, everything comes in waves with Amanda Bynes these days. On March 20th, 2023, Amanda was once again placed under a 72-hour psychiatric hold after reportedly walking nude through Los Angeles and telling a passing motorist that she was having a psychotic episode. When Page Six reached out to Paul asking if he had been in touch with her, he claimed that she had stopped taking her medication shortly before this happened. Apparently, Amanda had been booked for an appearance at an All That panel at a 90s con in Connecticut, which would have been her first public appearance after the end of her conservatorship, but she was a no-show, largely due to her relapse and dismissal of her medication. On June 17th, she called the police stating she was experiencing a desire to self-harm, once again requiring inpatient treatment, which, let me just say, like, what seems like a sea of endless tragic waves. I'm glad that Amanda had the ability to call for help this time. Like, it's a really big deal for someone who's experiencing a mental health crisis to even know to call, let alone do it, and I'm really thankful that she did. Now, Amanda was fine for a few months, and in December of 2023 debuted a new interview-style podcast called Amanda Bynes and Paul Szymanski, the podcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Amanda Bynes and Paul Szymanski, the podcast.
You might be wondering, who the F is Paul Szymanski? And same.
Hello, everybody. Hi, I am Paul. And welcome to our beautiful guest, Dahlia.
The answer to that is kind of complicated, so I'll start by telling you how Amanda put it. According to her podcast announcement, he's a scientist and a biochemist and one of her best friends. Within the video, she claims that Paul's involvement would bring the podcast to a whole other level, quote, because he's going to ask great questions and I think he's going to carry most of the weight in terms of topics of conversation. Now, Amanda was aiming big with the show, claiming it would start on a trial run interviewing friends before expanding to bigger celebrities. The first episode interviewed a tattoo artist named Dahlia Moth.
Thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
Okay, awesome. Are you ready for the question?
I think so.
Okay, great. Our first question for you, Dahlia, is what do you do for work and what inspired you to be in that industry?
Reactions to the podcast were decent. Most everybody was just thrilled to see Amanda again, even if, in my opinion, Amanda doesn't really seem comfortable enough to be back on screen. But in her defense, she does open up a bit more as the episode goes on.
It was Halloween or near Halloween, and I went to a Halloween spirit store, and I was working on a fragrance at the time, and I was with my ex-fiance, Paul Michael, and I spotted Dahlia, who was working behind the cash register, and I said to Paul at the time, do you think she's a model? She's so pretty. And he's like, yeah, I bet she is.
So, surprise, surprise, everything completely blew up. Yet again. Only this time it wasn't through any fault of Amanda's at all, because you see, dear friends, fellow Suspirians, if you're on the second channel, depending on who else you ask, Paul Szymanski may also be referred to generously as an exaggerator, and at worst as a straight up con man and a grifter. A series of now deleted TikToks, which I often regret when I start my sentences off that way, but here we are. These TikToks came out shortly after episode 1 from a user by the name of Everybody Hates Xtina, aka Scarlet Ray Summers, who alleged that Paul used to be her roommate and wasn't even a scientist. He was a straight up sociopath. Now, as Scarlet puts it, she used to be Paul's pet sitter for years, but that all came to an abrupt end when Paul, she claimed, sacrificed her dog as part of what she describes as a blood moon ritual. Yes, friends, we have entered the sacrifice portion of the documentary. As she puts it, Paul filmed it, she saw it, he lied about it, then deleted it. What are we doing here, people? Then she proceeded to rescue his dog before it would be too late. Okay, now I'm only bringing this up because of the timing of it all. For reasons that I will never effing understand, a lot of people on TikTok really bought into this. I think obviously, like, it's a bull false story. The fine folks at We Got This Covered even did some extra legwork to fact check the claims, showing that some, if not all, of the claims are verifiably false. For instance, Paul is most likely a working scientist, if not the expert he presents as. Quote, according to the podcaster's LinkedIn, he's currently polishing off his studies at UCLA, where he's pursuing his PhD with a bunch of scientific stuff listed. It is vital to note here that Szymanski's claims about UCLA appear to be false. That's according to research research conducted by, and it's been confirmed that Paul left that laboratory during the pandemic by just not showing up. Long story short, Paul's definitely lying about something, but so is Scarlett, who directly claimed that he was not a scientist. It doesn't appear to be that way. If you find something else, let me know. But also, like, is verifiable, Scarlett. Like, here's a published work with his damn name on it that WGTC found. Here's one from this year that I found. It's titled Differentiating the Roles of Micro words, substrate binding more words, sciencey words. I don't know what any of that means. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing any of that right because I didn't even try. I don't even know if I'm speaking English, but who cares? There's the facts. And in case you're wondering if this is the same Paul J. Szymanski, his ResearchGate profile listing these confirmed works has his damn photo on it. What are we even doing here? WGTC even concludes that through some behind the scenes discussions with mutuals that the blood moon ritual is also very likely false. Shocker! Dear God, let it be false. Okay, yet for a few days, it was all anybody on my For You page was talking about and just like, you know, co-signing. I don't know why. Oh, I just wish people would like at least Google for like 5 seconds, you know, before like just being like, everything is fact and like these are the most awful things to say about somebody and I'm just gonna say it because somebody on TikTok said it. It's just, Now, whether it was the inspiration for this next thing or not is unclear, but shortly after those allegations went live, Amanda announced that she was already ending the podcast, telling fans in a TikTok that, quote, even though the podcast is doing really well and response has been great, I am going to take a pause on it for now. We are not able to get the type of guests that I'd like on this show, like, say, Jack Harlow or Drake. Sorry, it's not lost on me that she made those tweets about Drake wanting to M her B. And afterwards, she deleted all of her content on TikTok. Following the release of Quiet on Set, TMZ reported that sources with direct knowledge that Amanda, Rick, and Lynn Bynes were approached to participate but turned the offer down. According to their sources, Amanda, whom we're told did not watch the documentary, declined to sit for an interview on account that she felt she just didn't have anything to share that would further their cause. And honestly, I seriously, certainly hope that she didn't go through those things. The things that the people on that documentary share are horrific. So I certainly hope that no more people went through that. But also, I don't blame Amanda for not watching it, and I almost think maybe it's healthier for her not to. I don't know that she needs to relive her time in that period, even if it was a good experience or an okay experience. There were a lot of things going on with her back then and consistently throughout all the years as we've documented, and I don't know that that would be healthy for her to watch. You know what I mean? So I think in a way it's good, and hopefully it's protecting her mental health a little bit more. Honey, I think we need a bit of a kitty palette cleanser, and then I will conclude with my final thoughts. Look at the cute little bills. Y'all, okay, I think it's official. So if you don't know, I was fostering a pregnant cat a couple of years ago, and I got her and some of the babies adopted, but they're all black, and people are still like eternally weird and stupid about black cats for no reason. They're so sweet. So adoptions were really difficult. So I've literally been fostering 4 of the babies for the last 3 years. Their birthday is coming up on tax day. They were the billing department babies, and it's time. I have officially adopted them all, okay? I did it a while back. Child, I don't know how I wound up here. No, I think a couple will ultimately live with my mom. They've spent a lot of time with her since they were born, so it's, you know, it's kind of a win-win. But dude, 4 cats, wild. Be sure to grab your pieces from the brand new Petty University Valid collection and the Valid Ribcage, the Valid Social Club by tapping the link below and in the pinned comment. I truly believe that you're going to love these pieces as much as I do. I designed them to be a constant reminder of just how incredible, beautiful, and valid you are, no matter matter what you look like, what you've survived, the invisible illness that you endure, or what you do in life, you are valid. Also follow me on Instagram and Twitter, both linked below. That's where I post most often, have polls, check in on life, and post opportunities to be featured in upcoming docs. And please keep tagging me with your outfit photos. I love reposting you on my IG stories. Also, I have officially, as I've mentioned, launched a brand new second channel called Swoop2, T-O-O. I will be posting a full analysis of the Dan Schneider interview that posted right after the Quiet on Set docuseries aired. It is a effing wild interview. I have so many thoughts, so look out for that one. My second channel is like a little more unhinged, and we take mini deep dives into what I call the sus pool, where everything and everyone is sus, maybe even us. We dip into all kinds of dark, bizarre, mind-bending stories, true crime, and absurd influencer disasters. The videos are much shorter. Usually this one, it's still shorter. So yeah, it's a great time over there. A couple of shout outs from my last doc on the absolutely mind-boggling looks maxing trend and the show of beauty trends that are literally destroying people. If you haven't seen it, it is also linked below. It might be one of my favorite docs that I've done recently. First shout out goes to Rocking Beauty Boss, who says, if you all haven't seen this, you need to. This is why I do what I do. I don't only coach on skin and confidence, but finding that confidence and happiness within you so you can feel authentically happier and beautiful in your own skin. And I think that is an incredible outlook for your field. And the second shout out goes to Jen Taber, who says, I have never heard of this, but it's wild. Yes, y'all listen, okay. Every now and then I do a swoop doc on a topic that most of you might not be familiar with. So I get it that there might be a hesitation to click on it, but trust me when I say if it's a random topic, it's because it's wild as hell. Like I promise you won't be disappointed in clicking in. There is always a reason behind the topics that I choose, and yeah, so just watch that one. It's linked, pinned, all of that. It's a good time. Now, per usual, if you want to be my next shout out, make sure you're following me on Twitter and retweet this video right here. Thank you, Drift, for sponsoring this video and supporting the channel. Be sure to check out my link below and use my coupon code PETTY for 55% off at Drift. It's less than $5 for your first month, and treat yourself, honey. You deserve it. I have absolutely no idea what the future is going to hold for Amanda Bynes, but the truth is, I hope she can manage to keep maintaining a solid support system, because even today, she is still a remarkably talented woman. And even if the height of her fame is long gone, and maybe that's safer for her, she's still young. Amanda Bynes is only 36, and even from a position of privilege, of, unchecked wealth that corrupted her from the inside out and the outside in, she is proof positive that exploitation, especially from corrupt individuals and industries with endless wealth, can have net negatives on anyone. There was once a time when Amanda Bynes was a model figure for young girls to look up to and model themselves after. And look, that's too much pressure to place on a teenager, let alone a 10-year-old. In order to keep up that facade, Amanda Bynes had to sacrifice every bit of happiness. Like, think about your formative years as a kid or a teenager. Like, were your best memories the times you crammed an entire week's work of homework in one night, or when you were grounded and every inch of your allowance and freedom was monitored? Even with the degree of privilege that she had as a famous and wealthy entertainer, Amanda Bynes' entire life was moments like you being, grounded and monitored. Propped up perfection 24/7, all while she struggled with addiction as a teen and mental health for her entire life. I don't actually think Amanda Bynes is a cautionary tale. I think her story should instead act as a wake-up call for yet another reason that children, and particularly child entertainers, are constantly failed in this world, especially when it comes to their mental health. And I keep asking myself the question, why? For what? And why weren't more people helping Amanda and the countless other Amandas out there just trying to exist in a world that only loves them when they're putting on a smile and performing for everyone else's entertainment? So with that, I wish Amanda nothing but health, happiness, and healing. It's been a long road for her. I think she deserves it. And for everything else, and Dan Schneider, because I'm coming for you, stay ready, stay petty, class dismissed. Swoop!